Okay, so this one's for Xbox Fawn, just showing quickly how to do the cardboard mod for a Japanese style Beatmania 2DX controller. First thing you want to do is obviously flip the controller over. If you're not aware already, there's an eject button there, which if you hold it down, means that you can slide out the buttons like so, so they're free from the actual controller. Throw the controller aside, it's not what you really need to work with at the moment. Now I know that it's initially scary to open this thing up, and the first time I did it I was like balls terrified of doing anything, but as you can see nowadays I just leave like the screws out. You normally have to unscrew those to get this section to come off. After you've unscrewed all 6, which are there, you just have to pry this sucker apart, if I can do it. And underneath you'll see on the underside it's just a bunch of circles which line up with the keys here, and a circuit board which you can see here. You've got to have that circuit board screwed in, otherwise yeah, you'll be in a lot of trouble. Now I'd recommend keeping everything on this sort of plane. Don't lift the whole button set, don't lift it like this after you've taken the board off, otherwise your stoppers and your keys are just going to go everywhere. So I'm going to start just unscrewing the board. There's just 2 screws, it's pretty straightforward. So once you've taken those 2 out, just simply lift. I tend to use the screwdriver for this, but just carefully lift the board out. And as you can see, some of my plungers have stuck on. But basically the way that it works is you've got this board with a conductive strip here and a plunger which has a metallic underside, or I don't know, it's a conducting underside, which basically compresses down like so. That touches the conductive pad on the bottom and it creates a circuit, so that's where you get your button presses from. Now the way that you stop the controller from sticking is by putting these in. These are just cardboard circles that have been traced with, or because we're in Australia we have these things called 5-cent coins, but if you're in the States you want to use pennies, because I've heard that pennies are the exact right size for doing this mod. Now I've got 2 layers in mine. I've found that 2 layers usually works okay. Most other people have said that 3 is ideal, but I like a little bit of recession on my buttons, so I usually put 2 just because it feels more comfortable having the buttons pressed down a little bit more. Now after you've cut out your circles, which I'm not going to do because obviously I've got all the circles that I need, you just place them inside the plungers like so, and then you turn them over and place them on top of the keys. Now when you're putting them on top of the keys, you want to make sure that the cardboard isn't resting outside of the plunger, because if it's resting outside of the plunger, the key won't recess properly, and if your key doesn't recess properly, that means that you're not going to be able to have that button work, and that's a pain in the ass if you ever have that problem. So I'm just gonna, God, I'm terrible at this. Just gonna put all of those back in like so. So when you're putting the board back, you want to make sure that all of your plungers can recess and all of your cardboard's in the right place. Now when you're putting the board back, make sure that the pattern on the board matches up with the plungers. So in my case I'm going to turn it over, place it back on, and put my screws back in like so. So for the first time that you're doing this mod, I'd presume it'd take about a half hour, because you've got to cut out all of your circles, you've got to make sure that they're sitting properly. Anyway, once you've screwed the board back in, just make sure that all of your keys press down like that. Just make sure that they're not, because you'll feel it if the button's stuck, and if the button's stuck it means that one of your cardboard pieces is probably straight outside of the plunger. But in this case I think everything's working alright. Feels okay. It's a good test, just press the bottom of the button here, because that's usually where you're going to get sticking occurring, and the top here. So anywhere along that line, just press them. Just make sure that they're all working. When that's all good, you just grab your controller base here, slide it back in, and you're good to go. You've got a controller that's raised, modded, and hopefully won't stick anymore. If you have any other questions about that, feel free to leave me comments or send me messages, but yeah, I hope that helps overall with your modding of your JKOC.